I need, we're going to do 5 options. This is another technique when you're stuck. And so I'm going to need somebody for a quick demo of someplace you're stuck. And it's very simple, and it leads into creation of action steps. You just continue to, you ask the person to populate your hand with 5 options, 5 possible solutions to a problem that they have. So look in your book on page 41. You can see how this works. Who's stuck? Have 2 or 3 people tell me a place you're stuck, and I'll choose one to do a demo. I know, you don't want to tell the world you're stuck. It's okay. We can use some of our, what's that? Oh, good, Mary Jo. Okay. Come on up, would you? I know, it's good. You haven't been up here with a microphone for a while, Mary Jo. We'll just stand here. We can do this here. Would you like to explain your purple hair? Make sure to turn it on. I would have, you press it, I guess. Okay.
Check, check. The purple hair is a Pelotonia fundraiser for the students in our college. So we do Pelotonia, which is part of the fundraiser for cancer research at Ohio State. And our students put together, I'm in the College of Vet Med, so our students put together a student Peloton. They have to raise a lot of money. And purple hair was on my bucket list. So when they needed fundraisers, they put that out. So they raised nearly $900 for themselves to help go for further cancer research. Done.
Cool.
And I got purple hair.
For how long?
My trim comes on Monday, so just until it grows out, but
okay.
We'll see. It may require some touch-up.
Jill and I were doing a marriage seminar in Florida when we lived in Maryland, and a young lady came to stay with her kids, and she was late coming back from a break, which wasn't good because we were teaching together, and she looks sheepish when she comes back, and the room's full. Honey, what's everything okay? I'll tell you about it later. We value authenticity. Go ahead. She goes, well, it was Whitney, and our 2 older kids just dyed their hair black. So that was funny. Mary Jo, what I think I heard you say was you feel stuck, unsure of a why in the road, whether to get more coach training in this area, like calling coaching, toward ministry purposes or organization. I didn't listen very well. Okay. Sorry.
So no, it would be to continue with this and finish this out, but then to pursue formalized coaching training through a secular group. So I am at Ohio State. The credentials would need to be through something that would be perceived as part of the status quo there. So that's one arm of it. The second is to just move directly into leadership, again, in Ohio State or someplace else at a university or college. And the third is kind of a blending of those, which is more in the organizational development side of things,
Okay,
which would encounter some coaching within that.
Okay, I'm still trying. Notice what I'm not doing as much as what I'm doing. So I'm trying to summarize. You want to finish this.
Correct.
And then your decision where you feel stuck is making a decision of whether to get professional, secular, credentialed, recognizable coach training so that you can do some of that as recognized, do some of that at Ohio State.
Correct.
Or
go into a leadership position directly. So coach of people, faculty, staff, including leaders, become a leader, or do something kind of organizational development training, which would blend a little bit of both of those and then use them in either of those roles.
Okay. You'd have a decision if you were coaching her to ask her to tell more about that and which way are you leaning and what do you want. But you know what? We don't even have to do that. If you're serving an executive-minded type of person who moves really quick, and it's the president of the university, a senior pastor, president of a company, they're just going to probably tell you, I'm stuck making this decision. I don't have time to tell you the pros and the cons of all this stuff. I just need you to help me figure out how to get unstuck. Okay? So notice how fast this goes. What are 5 options? I mean, maybe you have 1 or 2. I don't know if you have 5, but what are some options that could help you get unstuck to make this decision?
Could talk to some people who actually do coaching at the university.
One.
That's one.
Okay.
Am going to do a leadership development thing over the early summer, which should help me with additional decisions on do I want to go into some of those leadership decisions in positions or not. So gaining more networking and kind of experiential from their exposure.
Okay.
This counts as a third because I'm doing this was a sort of a test model of do I really want to continue this, and I find that I do. So I think this is helping to validate the process that I enjoy this and I can use these tools. 3.
So really, we only have one option
That-
because you've already got 2 in process.
I'm already doing some
So I'm
of
going
those.
to take 2 fingers away. We're still at 1.
Dang.
You could talk to some people at the university who do coaching.
Who do coaching.
Yeah.
I could get coached.
You could get coached.
I haven't done that one.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm still stuck there.
Okay. What have others done who need to make this decision? Or what could you imagine somebody else who need to make a decision like this do to make the decision?
Most people just jump in and test drive something.
Okay, so you could.
I could just jump into one of those and test drive them.
She doesn't have to like the option. We're just populating the list. Okay. What else? We're at 3.
3. Test, yeah. Could seek additional training in some of those arenas. I don't know exactly what
So
that would look
are you
like.
saying you
but-
could sample some additional training as a way to test drive it?
Right.
Okay.
I think that's a potential. And then another, I've certainly sought the counsel of a good number of people and have gotten a lot of both advice, prayer, and words, prophetic words in all these arenas, and could continue to just dive into that more. I just, be honest, at this point, I feel like God's like, they're all good, just make a decision.
Okay, so there we are. You're at 5. Okay, you might feel unfulfilled at this point because
I do.
Well, okay, let me on the fly merge something with this, and maybe we'll reiterate it, maybe we won't. Okay, action steps, remember? Could do, want to, will do. That's your sequence for action steps, and I think it's the next session. It is. So just take notes on this. That's all you're doing in your next demo is the 5 options, and we're going to debrief that, okay? And then we're going to go into action steps, but let's go ahead and use this demo for that. So let's list these off again.
Okay.
I would
Talk to
usually,
coaches.
Okay, I would usually write them down. Maybe somebody else if you've forgotten. Talk to.
Talk to coaches, additional training, jump in and try something, get more words from God, be coached.
Be coached. Okay, of those 5, those are the could do's. Which do you like? Which are you drawn to seriously consider doing? Like if you rank ordered the 5.
I like the idea of talking to people who are actually coaches at the university and seeing how they use it and what their training process was. And I kind of am thinking about, I felt some resonance around the be coached.
Okay, so 2. Do you want to fill out the list or you just want to drill down on those?
I think that's enough.
Okay, so one, talk to people at the university who are doing it. Two, be coached. All right. What do you, how effective do you think those options might be to help you make a decision? What's your thought process about how those two things might work?
On the first one, I think would give me the understanding of what it is that they are able to do with those tools at the university, how they're able to use them to influence people, or do they feel effective in them or not. I actually already have part of the information that they would probably give me on where they got their training and the cost and the background, and all those are things that I'm already looking into.
So what would be
Already
the
thinking
more,
about this.
what would be the more that could be a distinct action step to do more of that?
To do more.
Well, you've already done it, a lot of that is what I heard. So what would be an additional discrete?
Yeah, the one thing I haven't done is actually go talk to them yet.
Oh, I see.
And I am to some degree, I want to do that, and I actually will do that. It's
By when?
after July,
Okay.
which sounds like a long delay, but I just know what's on the table right now.
Okay.
And so I feel like this disconnect between I want to move forward with it, and I don't feel like I can because I physically can't make some of these things happen.
Okay. So sometime after July, but by when would you be disappointed if you hadn't talked to them?
By August.
Okay, so if we pick a date out, and this is
August
under the will
15th.
do, August 15th, you will have had those conversations?
Correct.
Okay. So now that's a valid action step. We followed it through. She's nailed herself down, kind of implicitly volunteered accountability to that. What about being coached? What are your thoughts about how that's going to help make a decision?
I think that would help. I think that might help with some of the getting stuck, just a lot of the fuzziness in the brain. There's just a lot of ideas that seem to be competing. And I really am stuck on, do I go down coaching or do I go down organizational development and kind of merge those two? So there's pros and cons of those that have been hard for me to kind of just think through.
So it sounds like asking for some assistance, maybe in kind of the spirit that Julie described this morning, to let you relax in probing conversation, exploration, to help things become more clear to you.
And just take time and be reflective.
Okay.
Yeah, haven't done any of that.
Okay. So how about the will do on that? What you kind of want to?
Kind of want to and know how much time I have, and it would freak me out.
Okay. So there's a little bit of a barrier.
That's the barrier of time. So, yeah, if there's a way I could figure out how to do that that would fit into a time frame schedule that would be not just one more thing, but actually the thing, that would be the important part.
Did you hear what just emerged? Another potential action step of considering or reflecting on how to do that as prerequisite to actually taking that step. So is that an action step you want to give yourself, to look at your schedule and consider how you might fit it in?
I think that would be a good one. I will do that.
By when?
I will look at my schedule tomorrow.
All right. Anything else you'd like to
No?
ask about or have me ask you about regarding this?
Unless in your experience, so you could put your other hat on and be a mentor,
Okay.
do you have advice
Um,
on how to approach?
the decision?
Correct.
I like the sampling, but that takes more time, and in consideration of what I've heard about your time in July, and I mean, you have people at the university in hand. It sounds like you have your resources. I could introduce you to some folks who've done the credentialing route, who could possibly give you they're trainers too, so that might be more grist for the mill.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's debrief a little bit. You're welcome. So what did you experience as I pushed you for 5 options? How did that feel?
It's tough because I really had I'd already thought of some, and I'd already put some of those into play, right? So I know they're happening and I'm doing them, and they still haven't gotten me to where I want to be yet. So there was sort of a tension there. Some I've already done. I don't quite know how they'll end up, but I was stuck with more ideas.
So as you heard yourself populate the list even further and then into the consideration of what would work and what are you drawn to, what did you experience?
I felt like that was good because it helped. As I verbalized them, I realized where some of the tension was in what the root is I'm stuck on maybe acquiring information. I need to push on a couple of those things to actually make them happen.
What worked for you and what I did? What was helpful?
It was helpful that you pushed, and it was helpful that you kept kind of reframing back to where is it that you want to, kind of where are you taking this? What's the next step? Where do you want to go with it?
Good. All right. If we were to continue, is there anything different you would want from me? Anything more or different that would be effective for you?
Yeah, I think one of the things that might be effective if I moved forward would be to move backwards a little bit and re-identify, which my coach today, Chris, is doing, is where's your heart in this and where are you taking it? Why are you drawn to this? What's the interactions that you intend to have with that?
Good. So don't be such a technician and just focusing on the options, but what do you see? What do you want? How did this get ignited in you? And let you touch desire,
right?
Motives, history.
Yeah, Chris was bringing up people, and then he said, well, what actually, how are you interacting with them? What are you doing with them? What are you able to call out? What do you see? And that brought all that up to the surface.
Good. All right. Thank you. We'll look forward to following your decision and what you do. So, okay. Put those things together in your group. Start with the 5 options. This can feel uncomfortable for some more than others, in that you're pushing, you're frustrating. You know, I had people look at me and say, "I'm stuck at 2. Can't you just tell me? I mean, I am paying you." What do you do with that? Well, honestly, there's a couple of things to do. You talk about, I do have some ideas. I do. I don't want to cheat you of the opportunity of exercising your problem-solving muscles and reaching for what God may draw you to as a solution. Now, I want to balance that against just some compassion, some helpfulness, that if you are stuck, I have coached other people through things like this. In fact, I had something like this in my life at one time, and I could tell you, but what would you like to do? I mean, could I push you a little bit more right now? And I honestly, I've never had anybody say that they regretted that. The most uncomfortable have said, yes, that was uncomfortable, but I'm glad, and I found something within myself that I could reach further. Okay? And then they may ask you, but now you've got me curious, populate the list. I've got 5. I mean, give me another 2 or 3, and maybe I can sift that out. So that's another thing you can do. So any questions about doing 5 options? Okay, take 10 minutes apiece to do it. And the dyads you've been working on, identify a place that you're stuck. That takes us to 11:35. 10 minutes apiece to do it. If you get the 5 options quickly, then go ahead into the want to, or the could do, want to, will do, like Mary Jo and I did just now. Okay. Thank you. Switch it. I'm sorry. Make sure to switch if you haven't. All right, 1 minute warning. Get wrapped up. I had this upside down. I was going backwards. Who got all the way through? How many got all the way through 5 options and evaluating action steps? Could do, want to, will do. Who did not get through evaluating action step, performing action steps? Okay. You'll have more opportunity this afternoon, but good job with that. So, your quick studies, you're doing well. Did anybody have someone who equivocated and basically, well, I know I should do that, but I'm not sure if I want to do that? And you tried to? Sounds like your efforts were unsuccessful. What kind of magic did John work on you this time, Patty? He laughed?
He laughed and said. He didn't have to say much. He just laughed and said.
Could you possibly recreate that in front of a microphone?
Yeah.
Could you? Come on up, do that. Recreate it and show what you did. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Thanks, David.
What did I do?
What did I do? So go to the point in your conversation where wherever you were making it hard, hesitating or
I
whatever.
think we were all the way through the obstacles, and we were talking about what can you do and what will you do. So John was asking me.
Yeah, and
right.
we were on 3. So we had 3 possible ways to go. And then number 4 came. And you said, well, the background on the decision is whether to stay in one avenue, or in between 2 different things, or leave and be fully engaged in one avenue. And so we have 3 possible steps, and then number 4 was
Slip out.
slip out. And so that's when I kind of went, oh, and laughed a little bit and said, well, that is a step, so let's write that down. You could slip out. So what's number 5? As she talked about what slipping out would mean, and then what's number 5?
5 is address the issues with the leadership. Like, that's the hard one.
So it took all of the steps to get to the hard one.
So what did it say to you when John kind of chuckled at the slip out?
Well, so I have my 5 for my obstacle. These were my 5 options. And then he asked me what option was that, I thought I could do, like the crucial thing. And I said, slip out. And he just chuckled and gave me that look.
Which
That
said what?
That's
all that
not, that's not the right option for you. I don't know if he then verbalized, but just his laughing and the look. And I'm one of those people who, reacts to looks. So that automatically told me I had to. He gave me the clue that wasn't acceptable. He wasn't going to let me
How'd that
off with
affect you?
I went, ugh. I did the yucky. I have to do the yucky one.
Because
Because he was that was the voice of the Holy Spirit or Jesus telling me, that's the easy way out. It's not God's way out.
So Christian coaching is not value neutral. You're coming alongside the person you're serving to help them walk in the way of the Lord for their life. So don't let the easygoing, client-centered, client-directed get you to lapse into some type of laissez-faire humanism or hedonism, that whatever feels good to them is the good option. This is a place where the unction of the Spirit comes through a brother, a friend, however your client is experiencing you as a coach, and checks you, just as the Holy Spirit would check you if you're going off the reservation with something or going against a biblical principle.
And when she was describing, just to give you the full picture, when she was describing what slipping out looks like, she's like, well, I could slip out. It's a big place, and I could be unnoticed by the leadership. And that's when I was like, oh, well, you gave me two. You said you could slip out, and then she answered, I could talk to them.
So where'd it go from there?
Well, actually, he asked me a few more questions about who I was connected to. And again, I think it was the Holy Spirit, that gave me my answer, that I said, well, I could tell them that to the people that I'm specifically connected to in leadership, that I'm moving on because of the other thing that I'm feeling called to. And then I said, what did I say, John? I said, that feels like I'm
Moving on to another ministry.
Yeah, moving on to another ministry. But because I'm not addressing the problems with the leadership, why I want to move on, that didn't, I wasn't telling them the whole story, or I was cheating, not giving them the full reason.
You said you were still honoring them with what they were doing and honoring yourself on where you were going.
Yeah, and then he said, well, who's telling you have to? Where are you hearing those words that you're feeling bad, that you're not telling them the whole thing, that you're just telling them you feel like you're ready, you need to move on to this other ministry and you want to put your time in that? And he said to me, well, who's telling you that? And what'd you say? Steve Backlund would say.
Yeah, Steve Backlund would say. Who told you that?
Where's that voice coming from?
Where did that voice come from? It's your past.
So he nailed it. That's right. I don't have to go into all the details of what isn't going on here and what is and blah, blah, blah. It's okay to just tell him I'm being called to this, and I'm not going to be involved, anymore. So the thing that was super, super yucky is now manageable. Still nervous. I still have the tension.
And if left to your own devices to coach yourself, how likely would you have come to that posture?
It would have taken me I'm hoping I would have come to it, but it would have taken me a lot longer. I'm hoping I would be listening to the Lord to get me there, but I think it would have taken a lot longer.
Good. Anything else either of you'd like to share about?
No, he does a great Steve Backlund, as you can see.
Computer voice.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. Who had somebody say, food's not here yet, by the way, but we'll let you know when it is. Who had somebody say, well, I know I should, but I don't know. or when it got to the will do, I don't really know. I need to think about that for a while. Anybody have that experience? It's okay. I mean, it's like asking a tell on yourself. Who's good extemporaneously that could role play that and let me coach you and show what you do when your fish doesn't want to get on the hook for a will-do type of action step? You got a real-life example? Is it Alicia or Patty? Would you like to share? You just got ratted out by your pastor. Come here, I'll make you a deal. It's a breakthrough? You do this now, we'll get Jim later, okay? All right.
As long as we're not looking for a new church after this.
Yeah. I think Ryan said he's hoping this is about him in some way. What's that?
Nothing.
You're not sure why
just
you're
gonna
here?
go with this.
You're not sure how you got here? You need Julie to come lay hands on you. She can impart courage to slay vulnerability. So, are you comfortable there, or would you like to sit down?
Wherever. I'm fine. It's awkward for me no matter where we're at, so. I can tell you this week's going much better than last week.
Really?
Yeah.
What's different?
My marriage is still intact, and we're at different tables.
Well, as long as the truth serum is flowing. I'm comfortable with other people being transparent, especially. So, I mean, there is a learning point there. You guys called me over and said, it is challenging to work with your spouse. And just for others, is, they go forward with this, what would you be willing to say about the challenges you found in trying to practice with each other?
With Ryan and I?
Yeah.
Because first of all, the subject we were talking about was a touchy one, because it's our future and what's going on, and I already had how I should answer the question in the back of my head, instead of listening to his heart through the process.
So kind of a cardinal violation in coaching process, you'd already fixed yourself on a solution.
Yes.
Okay. This is a risky question. Okay, so I want you to just say, let's focus on the next part of things. Okay? Realizing that, what did you guys do to hear each other after you left here Saturday? Have you been able to hear each other on those things yet? Did you revisit, did you turn off the conversation in your head and hear his heart on some things sometime during the week?
Yeah, because I've just kind of let him, because he's taken control over that situation, and like by sitting up here with you, he has an end date, and I'm not going to focus on I would have been like, why aren't you working on the house yet? How much time do you think you have? And instead I'm just like, he has a date, however it looks like for him to get there, because he's got a lot on his plate otherwise. We haven't really talked about it. I just I'm rested in the fact that this is his responsibility, and it makes it easier just to make it his responsibility instead of making it mine.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. Well, this potentially gets into a whole nother application of coaching and how you facilitate couples to use coaching skills and process with each other. And you've already experienced a challenge in that. You have history, there are assumptions, there's different temperaments, agendas. You want one thing from the conversation, your partner wants another thing. FYI, if you venture in that area and try to do it, we have the technology. There's a way to do that. I'll just say briefly, I think what you and Ryan do well, from what I know, is something that Jill and I have discovered, is you keep getting back on the horse. hit the reset button and try to have the conversation in a good way. You just look at each other and go, you know what, we know better. We have better skills. There's a lot of emotion involved, there's history, everything's flying at us all over the place, but I don't like the way this conversation went. Can we hit the reset button, say we're sorry, and think about how to have the conversation? So one of the principles, and when you apply this in relationship, is if you can't have a conversation in a good way, don't have the conversation. And take a step back and collaborate on how could we have the conversation, what's essential. I really need you to hold my heart. I really need you to turn off that conversation in your head right now, and don't marry yourself to any conclusions, because I think you know what I want or what I'm going to say, but I'm going to go a different direction. So breakthrough, huh?
Are you talking about what we're doing back there?
Yeah, I wanted to transition. If it's, is that okay?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
All right.
By the way, it wasn't all bad. When we talked about the dreams later, it was awesome. So
oh,
that
good.
part was fun.
Good.
But yeah, Patty really pushed me. You know.
Pushy Patty.
Yeah.
Persevering Patty.
Yeah. But which I felt like I deserved because I kind of did the same to her. But so I did notice it was much harder than just sharing your heart about a situation and your dream for that situation, to kind of come up with ways to go that way. It was really hard.
So, but you did. As a function of Patty pushing you. So what's Jim referring to, breakthrough?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Setting her up for potential breakthrough. Okay, didn't really want to take the options or.
Well,
take
I did. I just had a hard
Right,
time
thank
setting
you.
the goals of the dates because of everything we have going on. Plus, it's easier to have a dream and let it sit there, I guess, until not actually, that way, at least I have a dream, because I did go through a period of time where I didn't feel like I could have a dream because I was focused on my children. And then it's just, I don't know what my excuse is.
Do you mind sharing what you identified that you were stuck on, that you developed options for?
Sure. It might shock Ryan a little bit. We've only talked about this a little bit, but we've already done some things to step out and gotten our passports for our entire family. But my dream is to take our entire family on a short-term missions trip, which would be really pricey, but it's very doable, which with everything that I've seen God already do for us in the last 3 months, I'm like, this is nothing. Be a drop in the bucket. So now I'm just like, trying to stretch that faith to get there, I think.
You get really excited. I feel excitement when you talk about.
It's easy to talk about that part of it, but then to have 5 reasons or ways to get there is where I was really struggling.
And you came up with 5.
Yeah.
Do you remember them?
Yeah, kind of. Well, we talked about the financial aspect of it. It'd be easier if I had my piece of paper. But
Do you have, yeah. Thanks, Patty.
I think what it was first we started off trying to narrow down my vision of what it would look like with all of us being there and what I would expect from a trip like that. So that's where some of these came from, and how to get there. So one of mine was to talk to a family that had traveled with their children, not just, I know a lot of people who do missions trips all the time, but they don't take an entire family. So what would that look like for us? To finalize the finances, figure out the cost-effective place to go. So it would be, easier on the finances, to ask God for a prophetic word about where and when to go, and and that was kind of a thing underneath. She said because one of my desires was to work with children once we were there, because it'd be easy for my kids to work with the kids, and I think we could really reach the families by starting with the kids. And so she said, what could you do here to start that? Just kind of get an idea what it would look like. So.
What else happened after you populated the list with 5 ideas?
She just made me come up with dates.
Made you.
Yeah, she did. I think that's where he thinks the breakthrough might come.
She gave you the opportunity to set some dates.
Yeah, which I really push it out really far, obviously, for obvious reasons, but.
What are the obvious reasons to you?
Because we're moving, building in CSSM and leadership coaching, and I don't know how much more we could take. So.
I find myself replaying something I heard you say earlier, that this is nothing for God.
Right.
Yeah. Is it obvious to God that the dates need to be pushed out?
I don't know. I was just thinking in the realm of.
If you wanted to know the answer to that question, what could you do?
I could ask him.
Do you want to do that?
Sure.
Do you?
Right now?
This gets better and better.
I do not like this at all.
I don't know if you want to. Do you want to?
I already know the answer to that, though.
Who gave it to you?
God.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you said it earlier, he can handle anything.
Oh.
So
what?
it's the same I keep leaning on, because like committing to CSSM and the leadership coaching, I wanted to make sure I didn't leave my children behind. So to step back out into doing things in the church, because I haven't done anything for a while, that's kind of was a stretch for me, but he just basically told me he has my children in his hand and he'll take care of them. So.
Wow. How'd that feel?
Great. A little emotional.
Yeah. What kind of emotions?
I don't know. It just feels good.
Good.
Are you done yet?
We can be. I know people will bring you Kleenexes, though.
And hugs.
And hugs.
Yeah.
Whatever's needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Coaching can be, I'm going to rescue you for a minute, okay?
Okay.
All right. Coaching can be, that's great. Comes around, goes around. It can be very uncomfortable and worthwhile. I mean, how many things can you think of you've accomplished in life that were uncomfortable for a season, and you look back and you say, boy, man, I'm glad I did that. And for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. For the purposes of God through the people in this room and everybody you affect. Do you begin to just become overwhelmed by that? And bring it all together on the last day of a level 2 skills training for that joy, for the joy of co-laboring, for the joy of participating with, and helping as his helpers, helping to come to fruition what he wants to come to fruition through you. It's just... I think that means you're ready for more. I want to encourage you. I don't know what's in some of your minds and hearts right now, but I want to encourage you to steward it by writing it down, by sharing it, and we walked into a church service while living in the greater DC area on Easter, and it was one of those, God just shows you stuff, and you see a bunch of people who don't go to church and don't have a family and don't have a kingdom family. And I was absolutely heartbroken that we're only 3 people that touched the microphone that day, and that people walked out the doors without anybody talking to them. And what's made possible to go from you to everybody else who's in these seats and not yet and in the city is an opportunity to share, like Alicia is, and Julie did, and Cam did, and Mary Jo did, and the rest of you are doing at your tables. And who's having a good time in hearing and seeing what's happening? Yeah, this is it, isn't it? Yeah. You sit here and go, wow. All right, so for the joy set before you endured the coaching. You're enduring the demo. Okay, so I want to steward this and land back on this. You already know the answer. What's the answer that you know?
That regardless of the time frame of when it's going to happen, that God's got our family in his hands and my children. He's going to take care of everything.
So if you were to revisit the timeline on your action steps after hearing yourself say that, would there be anything different? Would you want to do anything different with what you see?
I would probably do it sooner. I'd just probably naturally do it sooner, but I'm the type that I don't want to set a goal that I can't meet. So I kind of put it out further than I really will do it. So
as far as it depends on you, you give yourself a lot of latitude. Okay.
plus it helped Jim was sitting there, so it's like double accountability. So I'm like, if I set it out really far, I won't miss it.
Okay. So if you landed back at this place with God can do anything, he's got your family in his hands, and you went for desire rather than assurance that it's going to be done by a certain date and you won't fail. If you went for desire, what dates would you put down on those?
To do these action steps, probably by the end of the summer instead of into the fall, because I'd want to actually travel in the winter.
And so what are you saying, that getting them done by the end of the summer would make it more realistic that you'll do the trip in the winter?
Right, because it'd give you more time to schedule everything out and get the airline tickets. But I mean, I've already said that the realistic part of it is that I should, before the realization, I said, maybe in the next calendar year, so 2015. But now I'm like, why not this year? So you could just take the place of vacation. It would be like a vacation, a teaching vacation.
So when you hear yourself say by the end of the summer and you begin to visualize that, how do you feel?
I feel excited. And then part of me hopes I'm not stressing my husband out even more. Oh, by the way.
Would you like to take one further step and in front of God and everybody tell what you're going to do by the end of summer?
Not really.
That's anticlimactic.
You already did it to him. You just see your nails down, don't you? So you want me to tell you what I'm going to do by the end of the summer?
No, I ask you if you would like to.
Oh, okay.
Tell what you're going to do by the end of the summer.
By the end of the summer, well, I can do that because God can actually provide the money now. I will finalize a plan for the financial aspect of it to get an idea of what it looks like, where the money would come from. And I will finalize talking to people who've traveled with their children to prepare me for what I'd need to do for my children, like if they have to have shots or I have to get medication or that kind of thing, which is a whole nother level of faith because we don't give our children shots. So that's a whole nother coaching session probably. But just preparing to take a family overseas, what it would look like.
Anything else you'd like to share from your action steps?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I'll take a prophetic word about it. I like that. That can come now. That'd make it easier for my other action steps.
There seems to be a theme here that God doesn't maybe want this to be easy for some, I don't know. There's challenge in this for you. There's growth, there's trust. I mean, there's a lot of things in it for you, which I'm going to stop trying to tell you what I think's in it for you. I could ask you what you think's in it for you, but let's do, we'll close here. We could do a lot with it. Thank you for being a good sport. I'm sure you all blessed by this? Yeah. Okay, thanks. Is food here? Okay. Let's just take a quick moment on some observations on what you saw. What did Coach do? Everything's in play. I'm doing a little bit of everything now. What just happened? I let her lead. How did I let her lead?
Well, you'd ask her a question, but you let her decide. You do this now.
I let her decide. Okay.
Can you do this now? Are you ready yet?
There was, and I don't mean this in any unkind way, Alicia, a little bit of deflection of responsibility. So you want me to, okay? Any other model, I might say, yeah, I want you to, or this will be good for you, right? Mentor, counselor, okay? What happens if I do that? Takes it off of her. Okay, it's her decision. Do you want to? And you really have to be okay with that as a coach. You really, really have to be okay. You can want something. Really, really bad for somebody, and you can be tempted to break ranks and to somehow try to make it happen for whatever reason. It's too long a discussion to talk about motives right now, but you really, really have to be settled in your heart that God has a plan for their life. They're going to be able to discover it. You are a helper in the process. And realize coaching principle, we will do what we want to do more than we know, more than we will do what others think we should do or what we think we ought to do. So do you want to? You want me to? No. Do you want to? Okay, so you got to listen carefully for that. And those are some of the fine points of coaching in the action steps. A little bit of a challenge to populate the list with a could do. Evaluation, will that work? Do you like it? What do you like about it? Do you want to do it? We work a little harder in there. I'm not sure if I want to do it or not. You have to expand the conversation. What would it look like? What makes you want to, not want to? What are the obstacles? What are the barriers? But the biggest challenge often, and you can't shortcut this, is will you do what you just said you want to do? And now you're nailed down, and that's hard sometimes. Some of us don't like to be nailed down. We like to keep our options open. We're scared to get that definitive. This is my word. I'm saying I'm going to do it. But again, you saw a place we went here. What if it's not up to you and it's up to God? Well, he's already spoken to me about that. He's already demonstrated something. So what would be a deadline on doing this that would show that God was involved and it just wasn't your ingenuity and your effort? Well, then I'd move it up to, and now it's on him to do it. Okay. A couple other observations. Yeah, Mary Jo.
So what I noted was this was really, I thought it was going to be all about process. So here's your 5 options. What are you going to do? How do you get to a deadline, outcomes, da-da-da, okay? And then right in the midst of all of those processes, you swapped it up and said, what do you desire? And you took it back to what's your, if all of those things weren't into play and you could have anything you desire, what is your desire? And went back to desires, and then the outcomes fell easily after they were wants to because of the desires. So I noticed that you went way back, really, in that funnel, way back to the beginning, and then brought that forward.
Yeah, and internally what I was thinking was there's not enough desire, there's not enough want to fuel the how to. And it's either not there, or it's not been fleshed out, or she's not heard herself say it. And I've got to go back. I see fires, I see nuclear reactors, I see, it's either there or it's dwindling, or it's doused. It's been doused. Others have poured water on it. This thing hasn't been lit. I'm scared. There's pain. There's something. It's not burning. Is it time for it to burn or not? By probing it, you'll find out. And so ideal future, remember where we started the day, you're jetting past all obstacles and barriers. Take all this away, let's fantasize if you could. When people are still blocked at that point, my experience is there's some pain that needs some healing. So, any other questions or observations on this before we break for lunch? Yeah, Alicia. Microphone's coming back to you. I'm getting warmed up.
Just getting started. I think the biggest thing for me personally that came out of it when he was talking about breakthrough was actually seeing God's revelation in it and him reassuring me that he's going to take care of my children, because that's a big one for me, because that's my entire life. So to not put limitations on what he has for us as a family, because he's going to take care of us. So. Very
good. Right. Yeah, and I felt I let myself have freedom to follow my nose and your words about, well, God spoke to me about, well, okay, let's extrapolate that. So feel free to follow your nose on those kinds of things. Any lunch instructions? Does anybody have any housekeeping needs to get taken care of? Okay, last week, again, we were out of here by 4:10 to clean up, let the worship team get organized. So is 45 minutes for lunch adequate, or do people need an hour to get out of here? Is anybody saying you definitely don't want to be back before 1 o'clock? I mean, before 1:15. Is 1 o'clock okay? Okay. Anybody like to pray over this morning? Yeah, Jim. Anything, Jim. Just, it's yours, man.
Well, I got volunteered on that one, so paybacks. Before we pray, it's just been awesome for me just to hear people's, Jeff, you alluded to it, but just to hear people's stories of just what it is, God's destiny, and just to watch it begin to come alive, to think about the what ifs as this begins to happen. It is really powerful. It's been really good for me. So Lord, we just bless what you're doing, that you are, you're fanning flames, you're rekindling flames. You're just doing great things in hearts. And Lord, I just thank you for a group of people that are willing to pay a price to give that gift to other people, to, Lord, not only see it deeper in them, but to give it away. And so we just thank you. We bless the fellowship. We bless Jeff and Jill and everything that they bring. And thanks for the food, Lord. Amen.